Alrighty, hello everyone. It's Drinker here and MauLer, and it's been a little while since we've done one of these, isn't it? It's
yes,
been
everything happened, so we've been busy.
between the Acolyte and Boogie. I mean, what can we do? You know, we have to set priorities.
Significant social and media events. Some other things happened that you guys may be aware of, but ultimately we're just lots of clicking, typing, speaking, and across streams and videos, and just gotta get Firefly back in there. And now we found the time.
Yeah, and honestly, this is like my nice little vacation from the hustle and bustle of like the usual content. So it's nice to just settle back, watch a few episodes of Firefly, and just enjoy ourselves. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So the one that we're going to be talking about here today is episode 3, which is Bushwhacked.
Yes, it is.
And yeah, I mean, like as we've done before, like we kind of rewatch them just before we do the stream, so we're a little bit fresh with it, and we can, we're not going to be asking questions that are going to get answered later in the episode. So, I guess the first thing to just talk about a little bit is like overall impressions of the episode before we dive in. I don't know if you want to go first or should I or whatnot.
Probably you.
Okay. So. This one, it took a while to hook me in, actually, because it was a fairly slow-paced one. Not meandering as such, but there was a little bit of me wondering, where is this going? What is this actually doing? Obviously, as I found out by the end of it, it's really there to help build up our understanding of the Reavers and how dangerous and terrifying they are. Again, without really showing them on screen. We get to see the aftermath of what they've done. But it begins with, I almost got Event Horizon vibes, actually. They find a ship adrift, they board it in the hopes of finding salvage, find a bunch of dead people on board, and there just so happens to be a survivor there. And we gradually learn more about what went on there and who's responsible. But some nice little tense moments, a little bit spooky to begin with, and it's some good stuff. We also get the Alliance as well. We get to see them make their appearance again, which is always it's a world building episode. I imagine is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be seen in a sense almost as filler, and this is the kind of filler that I like in seasons where it's just a standard problem for the team we have to deal with, and we see how they react to it. Like I always like that in between my my plot or character focused episodes. But yes, we get to carve out a decent amount of new information here and there. And I would agree, it does seem the style in this episode is the pacing only goes up the further you go, and it actually is at what feels like the fastest right before it ends.
Yeah,
like lots of events taking place, lots of information, and then it's like, when that was it.
But it was a bold move for sure to have a filler episode as your third episode of your show. That's.
I mean, to be clear, I don't use it as I would likely opt for it if I were trying to construct a TV show. First two kind of make sense as this is what I think Farscape probably does something similar. A lot of shows do. It's just deal with a simple problem on the ship or something just off the ship or a planet where they drop down and do something. Star Trek has plenty of these kinds of episodes. It's just there's this thing. What do we do with it? And then everyone has an opinion and has different things to do. And of course, we're still early on, so we need to just see them doing regular interactions.
It's interesting as well to see like how much work the show's putting in to do the world building and so on. And it feels bittersweet in a way, knowing that like it doesn't ultimately get to go that far because you only get to the end of the first season. And like this, you imagine how rich this world would have been if they'd had an extra couple of seasons to expand it and give us more information about all of it. I try
to view it as 14 episodes in a movie is a lot more than several movies that have amazing world building in terms of time. So at least they got to have more shine than a lot of things ever do, in a way, just a world in general. But you are right that there's so many things they build up and then they don't get to do anything with.
Yeah. But, well, anyway, it's probably best if we stop waffling about it and start watching. We can pass judgment on it as we go. How does that sound?
Brilliant.
All right. Well, we've got the old TV set warmed up here, so I will, I guess, count us down. We will begin in 3, 2, 1, go. Nice shot of the Serenity there.
as well with any TV show full of characters is actually showing that they play every once in a while.
They do.
Have to
They
be anything
work
in
hard.
particular.
They work hard and they play hard.
It's just literally just show me that they do human stuff outside of all the requirements of a TV show episode.
Yeah. I think this game actually is quite emblematic of the whole team. Like, the rules seem to be quite few and far between, and they don't really know the score, but it's just about roughhousing and having a bit of fun, you know?
Moving about, throwing things.
Yeah.
As long as someone's keeping score, maybe.
Look at the preacher's pretty spry as well for an old guy.
Yeah, and like the characters they've chosen to not have part of the game feels somewhat appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, she's an obvious choice. Like, both River and Indara, like, they're not going to be playing roughhousing games like that.
And like this is just, normal TV format. It just that's the event that's happening. Start conversation about that. Move into just etching out more of the characters. Give us a bit more to think about, but also binding everybody up. Got a lot of relationships to get going if you got 9 characters.
Yeah, and it's great because you can mix and match them and have people that might not necessarily interact that much spend some time together. Like, I guess that's always the formula with shows like this. When you've got a big cast, it's fun to play with. She's always trying to get him involved, isn't she? She's got a bit of a thing for him.
I mean, all of that was just not wasting lines. Jane always has comments that relate to fucking... It's usually sex or violence.
Yeah.
Here's she's pining after the doctor, and you had Wash making jokes.
Yeah.
It's just reaffirming everything we already know, but, it keeps the chemistry running as well. It's not like Firefly is the first by any stretch. It's just a really good blueprint for understanding like the benefit of having characters that are different.
This is always a classic trope of sci-fi movies and TV shows and stuff, like finding the ghost ship adrift in space.
Yeah, what happened?
It's always good stuff. The thing I always find creepy about like space and sci-fi shows like this and stuff, and I think The Expanse did this quite well. It's like, obviously bodies and stuff don't decay in space. Like, if a ship gets a hole put into it and it's exposed to vacuum, everything's just freeze dried and just preserved forever. And there's something just really kind of creepy about that. You could come across a spaceship that was crippled decades earlier and it just looks like it was done yesterday. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, space is perfect. Sci-fi and horror they go right together.
Yeah. Need more of that. Need more cosmic horror.
I mean, Event Horizon 2, even though that would probably be terrible these days.
Yeah. Well, they threatened to make a TV show about that for a long time and then nothing happened, so that's probably for the best.
Yeah, 'cause it's like a scuffed version of a lot of other shows where it's a bunch of misfit, like randomly brought together, but they still have enough different values that a conversation about what to do with this ship is still varied. Because obviously,
well, yeah, I mean,
Jane just wants whatever they can benefit from. A lot of them are concerned about why it would even be here. Then there's moral considerations for whoever was on board. It's all standard stuff.
Yeah, like, Preacher obviously wants to give them a decent burial and stuff, like the crew, but it's interesting that Jane doesn't immediately twig, like, hey, there's probably valuable stuff on that we can swipe. His attitude seems to be more like, let's just fly on by and, ignore it.
I thought he was in this scene because I thought Mal balances the two perspectives, right? Let's.
Well, I thought because the preacher wants to go over there and recover the bodies and bury them, and like he's like, I don't want to do this. This sounds like ridiculous. And then Malcolm has to persuade him by saying, "Hey, there's probably some cool stuff there that we can find as we go. If we happen to pick it up, they won't mind."
You would have thought Jane
cool.
would have had that thought himself, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think he got put off by the idea then that they're going to help people or sort people out. It was immediately like,
And we get a little shot there of something attaching itself to the ship.
Yes.
It's weird because it's kind of biological. I'm not sure if I quite twigged what it was when I watched this episode the first time. There's a point where they have to try and remove it, and it looks like it's bleeding. It's
a
bit weird.
Reactive wiry trap. Not entirely sure, but... Yeah, Simon's got a bit of a fear of space.
To be fair, space isn't a very nice place. I wouldn't want to be in it.
No, it's known to be mean to humans. But yeah, once Mal balances out the motivations with there could be something to take if there's no one left to do anything with, Jane seems pretty on board. Naturally.
I love how Jade's just such a complete dick to him all the time.
Yep. I mean, I think we talked about it in one of the prior episodes, but I think this dynamic of the whole ship would be in very much a worse state without Jane, because he's almost the only one you're not sure about his moral position. Everyone else is pretty clear.
Yeah, no, I like him, and I like his portrayal. It's Adam Baldwin, isn't it, that plays him? It's a really good job.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, quite a strat from the Reavers, right, to clear ships like this and then leave a trap on them, so if anyone tries to take stuff from them, they'll act as like a little clamp, and then they can come back.
That's a neat trick.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm trying to remember what the name is. Isn't it the Flax or something in Farscape? Like a giant net.
Oh, yeah. Is it designed to ensnare Leviathans?
I think it was just to ensnare, generally speaking, ships, and their transport ship gets hit by it, right? And they do everything they can to escape it, and then he kills John.
Right.
It's a good payoff, that one. It's the he's got to knock himself out and teach Aaron how to do it. Fix the ship while the atmosphere's gone.
Yeah. Oh man, gonna have to rewatch Farscape again.
It's gonna be unfortunate when we actually do get to space and start doing all these things, because these shows will start getting really inaccurate, probably.
I know. I think the reality of space travel is just going to be so dull compared to this. Like, we're not going to have gravity and stuff. We can't walk around inside ships like they do. We're not going to be playing basketball in our underwear like these guys were doing and just dicking around. It will all be very, very
But
prim and proper.
Can dream, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely getting Event Horizon vibes with the ship's log and stuff. I was like, "Ooh, what are we going to see in this?"
Yeah, I mean, it's really unclear. It's kind of a combination of information, right? Because whatever's going on with River, for reference, Drinker will have seen episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 now. It's clearly psychic.
Yes.
And exactly what that means is complicated, but that the Reavers are also monstrous. We don't really know what's going on there, but they do state they were or are men of some kind, so there's a sense of sympathy for them, but at the same time, just pure terror.
Yeah, and I think this episode actually does a great job of introducing the concept of them through the proxy of like someone who's been exposed to them and been driven insane and tries to make himself look like them. And by the end, he's just like this horribly mutilated monster. And it's like, damn, if he's just like a weak approximation of the Reavers, like imagine what the real thing's like.
Well, there is an implication that that is how you become one. Like he was in the process of it.
Right.
Because, of course, there must be a way that they're created.
Spooky,
And you can't help but love stuff like that. You gotta love like it kind of reminds me of the White Walkers for Game of Thrones. This vaguely alluded to threat that it's like seen as the biggest one and the most ferocious one, but eventually, and of course I know where it goes, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, the idea was good. I like that scene as well, like really tense, like entry to the ship, and then they're all just standing there. They kind of never miss an opportunity to dick around a little bit, which I really like.
Oh, it's this kind of balance is something that, because you kind of mentioned it earlier, but there's a comfort to this kind of TV for me where I love the back and forth of they are just sort of ragtag group who are trying to make their way sort of thing, but also Mal will push for very strict and very official and proper etiquette here and there where appropriate. It makes it it's very fun. It's just, as an alternative, you have the much more official and proper Star Trek. I love them both. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, like both approaches are fine, and if I had a choice, I suppose I like this version more. Like this idea that it's much more informal, and that like a ragtag group of idiots can still have their own ship and just be out there plying their trade in the universe, being scoundrels and rogues and outlaws. I mean, I know they kind of skirt right on the brink of the law because they're able to. They've got some official like documentation that gets them through certain situations, but
yeah, it's another thing we get to learn as we go is just their strategies for dealing with certain situations that they should have come across before, but we're seeing it for the first time, and so they do have procedure, somewhat. And yeah, feels like a really common bit of storytelling where they'll find a door that's locked and they'll be like, they're trying to keep something from us in there. They're trying to keep us out. And it's like, they're trying to keep something in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they wanted to make use of a build-up in the episode, but honestly, I would probably try to speed up this half and then add more to the second half.
I think so, yeah, because it's not really that obvious where this is meant to be going for the first half. There's a few disjointed things going on, but it's not really tying together until like quite late in the episode.
I think they wanted to really give a strong shot at doing the this could be anything, and then shock horror. It's Reavers. We got to get out of here. And then there's one straggler. Is he a Reaver? It's like no. Then is he turning into one? Who knows? And then Alliance on top of that is what a calamity. And then it all sort of solves. And then end of episode. Yeah. It's there's a couple of ways you could do it, and I can buy that this is not as fast as it could be. Something I noticed and I quite like was a lot of the clues are gradually knocking out all of the opportunities that the families got out of here. They keep trying to sort of talk about how they would have used this, or they did this, or maybe if they did that, and eventually just like they didn't make it.
Yeah, because it's like the lifeboat for this thing wouldn't have enough space for everyone, but there's no sign of where they are. And they wouldn't have left behind the cargo.
That too. Yeah, I think that was like the big sort of. There's just no way.
There's always a creepy doll.
No, wholesome doll.
Yeah, wholesome doll. Yeah.
Is there such a thing? I don't know.
Well, it's just like a little, like it's a nice visual cue. Like, yes, there were families on board here with children.
I think you're right. I think you don't do wholesome doll. You do teddy bear usually.
Yeah, dolls are fundamentally creepy, especially those ones where the eyes kind of open and close.
Do you
That's just
remember
weird.
Newt has the severed head of a doll? It's just
Yeah.
like, extra creepy.
I do remember when Ripley tries to play a bit of psychology with her, and it's like, this doll's, Casey, I think it's called. It's like, she's not scared. There's no bad dreams in there. And Newt's just like, yeah, she doesn't have bad dreams because she's just a piece of plastic.
I love that shit. She's like, I'm not retarded, Ripley. And then Ripley's like, yeah, but you kind of are, though.
I might be insane, but I'm not retarded. This shot I thought was great. Like, that's nice and creepy. They're all just kind of congealed together.
Yeah, this I would have thought would evoke a bit of Event Horizon.
Because initially I was like, oh, is this some alien thing that's done this? Like, have they merged together, like the Thing or whatever? Because you only get like a brief shot of them. And it's like, no, I think they've just been kind of like chained up there by the Reavers. And that's it. Jane ambushed.
Jane is dead.
It was nice to know him while he was around, R.I.P.
Oh yeah, this I get it, right, for the sake of the operation, but it almost feels unfair because he has no way of knowing the safety of anybody and what's happening. And so he's like, just someone update me. Then she's just like, not now. And we're like, okay, I guess,
It's like, I would like to know my friends are alive, if that's all right.
Because he's probably been in that situation a couple of times.
Yeah. Nice little payoff to this.
I was very entertained as well by, once again, there's so many moments for them, but Mal basically being like, we need to solve this quickly, whatever there's going on here. So punch him in the face and drag him out, not listening to bullshit. Like, we're just getting this done.
Well, he sort of reassures the guy for a second and then just lays him out.
Yeah. We got lots of mercy.
This was a very Aliens Newt moment, wasn't it? Hiding in the air vent. Like, I think they even talk about how he's like borderline malnutrition. It's like, okay, it's just like Newt. That's a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, that's his first assumption.
Yeah, and I like the logic that Zoe has. If the captain believed it, which is probably the most important thing, because he's got all the information, essentially, this wouldn't be bringing this guy on board. Yeah, and I think what we're supposed to gather here is he's pretty sure of what's happening to him, but he's not 100%.
Yeah. I mean, you can see from his facial expression there, it's like, oh, yep, big old red flag has just gone up there.
Well, and the big problem, right, of Mal can probably take him, but can Kaylee and Indara? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get to find out that shoot him in the head probably would have been the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it was me, I would have said, like, right, Jane, you stay in there with a gun on him at all times. Just make sure he doesn't try anything.
Also, restraints.
Yeah.
And yeah, that fear on Jane again. So he would rather believe any other alternative than allowing it to be Reavers.
Yeah.
Mal's face.
Yeah,
So
it's like
unimpressed.
a nicely optimistic view there. But... It's interesting as well that he's the most freaked out by all this. Yeah, the guy who's generally speaking the most warlike, the guy who's always ready to step into a fight.
Yes, I think it would be reasonable to assume he might have a history with him.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I really like, by the way, "Don't scare the women" from Zoe. It's kind of like a line of just like, yeah, stop making them panic, but simultaneously she is a woman who isn't panicked at all by this, but she's like still like, don't.
Yeah, that's a line you would not get today.
No, you wouldn't. There's a couple of those in the episodes we're going to be talking about. It's lines I really like. It feels much more honest.
There's a few in the next episode, I think, where Mal's having to deal with Indara and like the nature of their relationship. It's like, wow, yeah, you definitely wouldn't get away with saying that.
Yeah, this is kind of fun too. He hasn't told anybody about why they need to stay. Yeah, because if he was to tell everybody about what's actually happened, it might panic the shit out of him.
He's just kind of he's always on top of things, isn't he, Mal? Like, kind of anticipates a lot of this stuff.
I don't mind saying it. At least one per episode. He's just one of the best characters of all time. He's so easy to fucking enjoy. Competence is one of the best characteristics to have in almost anybody, and you can only do it if you know how to be competent. So,
yeah. But then there's a balance, I suppose, because obviously if he's too competent, then he's nothing's going to phase him, and he'll just come out on top in every situation. There's no tension there. But like the show generally seems to know when to pull it back a little bit, or
I mean,
show him sometimes outmatched.
In the episodes we've watched, he's suffered quite a bit already and made mistakes, and his emotional side will always get the better of him. We see that in the next episode quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
It's just that as a captain, he'll just often come through in very satisfying ways.
So I would in this moment, because like we see Kaylee doing her thing to like defuse that trap, that bomb thing that they've got, I would like to have made it a bit more difficult for her, because it kind of makes it seem like the Reavers aren't all that good at what they do if she can just like easily remove this thing and then off they go.
There is that angle. There's also that she's exceptionally good at what she does. Which they have kind of implied already that she's remarkably good at her job, which they will again in the next episode as well. But I don't think it was the kind of device. I think that the power in the device is that it's not detected necessarily. As soon as it's detected, it sort of like there's a much bigger chance of actually being able to get rid of it. Because Mal thought that Mal deduced from the whole situation that might have been a thing that happened, right? As opposed to a other sort of less experienced captain that might have been like, let's leave, pull away, explodes, fucks the whole thing up, and then the Reavers come and pick away at them. That's the impression I got anyway. And of course,
No,
it was
that makes
obviously
sense.
from a writing standpoint, needs to delay them just enough that the Alliance get here. And sometimes with stuff like that, I just think it's a matter of, like when your parents can't figure anything out to do with a TV, you press one button and then they're like, "Holy shit, you're a genius!" You're like, it's really not that hard when you know how to do it.
I'm not smart. You're just retarded. Oh, what the timing, eh?
I do enjoy that too because there is a non-0% chance that it's not Reavers, and so if it isn't, get the material securely smuggled.
For sure. I like how non-aerodynamic these ships are, especially the Alliance cruisers. Like, it's just like a giant, I don't know, it's like a city floating around. Yeah, it's like skyscrapers glued together floating around.
I imagine that was part of the idea with the design. They're very imposing as a almost formal government.
Yeah. Here's our Starship Troopers right here.
Yep. And you can't help but appreciate, by the way, didn't we have a flag on a Firefly a while back? And it's like, yeah, you did. It's good memory, people who write this show. You appreciate stuff like that, right? And then it's appreciated as well. Like it's good that they ask about that. They have a hook into wanting to, inspect these people beyond just in general. But then on top of that, there's information they're not even allowed to have about two people that might be on that ship, which is particularly interesting for the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that will have a very satisfying payoff when we get there. I really enjoy this too. Mal, he's an infinitely layered character. He's not explained his full plan yet. And so it's almost allowing Simon to entertain the worst possible version of it and seeing what he'll do as a result of believing that is the case. And part of it to me, as well as it's the end of episode 5, is I think Mal is of the position and the interest that he will do everything he can to protect his crew members, but in exchange, he wants them to follow his orders.
Which, I think is reasonable. But yeah, like he straight up does say that. Like, why did you help me? It's like, well, you're part of the crew. Like, I don't need to discuss it further beyond that. Like, that's just my...
I very much enjoy that part. I'll probably wait for it before I talk about it a bit more, because there's just so many things to say about Mal as a character. I also really enjoy this back and forth.
Yeah.
They're going to go, obviously they're going to find the guy in the infirmary, and Mal's expecting them to find a knocked out dude. And I like that he says, saved him, I guess you could say. It's like, we're the good guys.
No comment.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. They don't make this guy, despite the fact that it becomes clear later he's inexperienced in this part of space. He's not inexperienced with speaking to, rogue
well, yeah,
elements.
he knows the score. Yeah.
Hey, I just said rogue elements naturally.
Hey. It's a good title, that. We should keep that in mind.
I love that response. It's so clever that even the guy himself is like, that was quite a respect. So it's like, I want to find the brother and sisters. Like, no children. It's like, I didn't fucking say they were.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's a great way of feigning ignorance in a way that seems believable, and like, yeah, it's good.
Well, I wondered if it was so good that the guy himself was like, are you fucking with me, or are you?
How smart are you?
I also like as well that he offers him a way out, which probably works with a lot of people, where he's like, maybe they stowed away, maybe you couldn't get rid of them. That's perfectly reasonable. You could just tell me that's happened if it has.
Yeah. That's your Hans Landa approach, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good shit. And so, yeah, we get to what I consider kind of a highlight for the episode, this, especially with the editing, too, the interrogations.
Yeah, the interrogations are great. Like the way Wash just spills his guts immediately.
Isn't the only footage we get of Jade's interrogation is he's just staring at him? He doesn't say anything.
Yeah. That's just perfect for him, though, isn't it? That is a nice room. I do like that. It looks comfortable. It's a nice contrast as well, how sterile this place is. Everything's just grey, metals. Yeah.
And interrogation scenes, this is just easy exposition for characters. It's freebies, essentially.
Yeah, because you can ask them anything and get some insights. It's all good. That was a nice little cut there.
Yes, it
that
was.
Yeah, very pointed.
Gets to make you wonder a bit. He threw his dinosaur.
No. That's some good dialogue as well.
Yeah, it's just Zoe's consistently very strong and doesn't appreciate the situation for their side of it. And then the direct contrast with Wash. So good. Which, by the way, as far as I'm aware, this is all ad-libbed from Alan Tudyk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just let him go. Which also wouldn't get away with that line in today either.
No.
Basically just said he loved her ass. Which is great.
I do. I love Kaylee as well, because she takes such offense if someone insults the Serenity in any way, and then just rants and rants about engine parts.
I do love how consistent they are with it. It's good shit.
Giving them, because they cut back to this a couple of times, didn't they? Because it's always weapons and stuff.
Or will they?
Yeah, this is where we get our little shot. Lucky that no one aboard the Alliance ship happens to look out their window.
I suppose it actually reminds me. I thought it might have been evoking a bit of Empire, where they attach on the back of the Star Destroyer. It's kind of like it's possibly a noted blind spot if they have enough familiarity with the ship they're hiding from. And I think they have this shot on purpose to zoom out. They become pretty blurry pretty quickly.
Yeah. And well, I guess the perspective you see them from, they're on the hull, like upside down, essentially facing out into space. So there's nothing above them to look down and see them.
Another fun contrast of she sees so much fun and happiness in space while he sees just pure fucking dread.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say. It's just good. Like the performances, they can capture it pretty well. It feels like sparring.
Well, yeah,
And
yeah.
trying to just
The
draw
alliance,
information out of each other.
yeah, I mean, he's very much trying to feel Mal out, I suppose. Like, he knows his history. He's trying to figure out how much of a threat he is. Trying to provoke him a little bit, maybe try and make an admission that he wouldn't want to otherwise.
Well, and he's already aware of what's happened in the infirmary, so he's more so just like kind of needling and finding a motive. It's like, why did you do it? Because you obviously did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I guess you could try and fit it, but really, it doesn't fit.
No. But you did know Mal. Like, and there it begins.
Of certain tech, and they look so old while also they're desperately trying to make them come across as sci-fi-ish. It's the problem that all sci-fi has at a certain point, but nowadays everything is holograms. So
yeah, I sort of miss that sort of retro futuristic look of like the old CRT monitors and stuff on bridges. Like we saw it in a lot of the old Star Trek movies when we did our watch throughs.
Mm-hmm.
There's something weirdly comforting about it.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. A lot of transition in actual technology. People end up missing buttons. People like buttons.
Yeah. It always seems so unintuitive, like when you've just got a flat screen in front of you, or even worse, a hologram that somehow, you just reach up and touch, because it's like there's no feedback from it. You can't really tell what your fingers are touching. It just feels like it'd be so unintuitive to use.
That viscerality, which I don't think is a word, of Alien and Aliens with all the tech, the way the tech works in that.
Yeah. I think it's a good combination.
Wonderful.
It's interesting how she sometimes flits between moments of lucidity and just other times where she's completely spaced out and she's in a completely different time and place from the rest of them.
Yeah, sometimes it can be like kind of haunting, the scared, fear, horrifying, whatever thing she's experiencing. Then sometimes she's absolutely chill and happy.
What I like is as well about the Alliance, like although they're kind of officious assholes who are quite overbearing and probably overreach their authority, like they do have certain rules that they still follow. They have protocols, and they don't just immediately arrest everyone for no reason and just say, your ship is ours now and whatever. Like they've got the veneer of like being an official force of law and order out here.
Yeah, because they're still run by people who, not all of them are just assholes. Many of them are good people. Yeah, they're in a particularly bad spot, but this event, the way it runs out, it's just it's all kinds of proof that the commander would need. Mal's not the one that killed his men so far. You see the guy who did it, it's the one that they'd brought on to try and help, and then Mal kills him to save the commander. It's all very...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's And the guy is then fair towards Mal to some extent. Like, okay, you're on
Well,
the level. You
it's
saved my life, and it's like, well, okay, I'll do you a favor, let you go.
it's something I quite like. It's the happily ever after. It's like, well, they get to go, but they don't get any of the material that they found that was going to be fantastically useful for them. It's like, well, yeah, because they wouldn't. They were stealing it. This is a satisfying little interaction as well.
Yeah, he's got to react to like something he really wasn't expecting to find here, but like play it cool at the same time. Yep, sees the helmet. Oh shit! They're back inside.
Yeah, he's like, they're in your fuck. Let's be careful. You know what, you guys? I'll check out this bit.
He actually arrived at a very convenient time there.
Oh, I mean, Mal would have had the words to have sorted that out. He'd have said, "There's nobody here," and then something like, even if there were, they would have hightailed it by now, or something like that. So could tell him to get the fuck out of there.
There's some good stuff there, though. You see how he's mutilated his face and stuff, and I'm surprised they were able to get away with that on a show like this
it's a bit
for the time period.
Rough. Surprised me. There's the violence you've seen so far in this show is about as much as you typically will get in Buffy and Angel, but there is an Angel episode that's an 18 in Britain.
Oh, right. It's pretty cool.
It's because of torture. But it's not anything that you wouldn't be at all surprised by it, but I think it's just because of the time, I guess.
They're still kind of sticking to the whole like no sound in space thing as well, which I'm appreciating about this show. Well, there we go. So that was episode 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I say, it took a bit of time to get going and took a while to like really bring together what they were going for with this episode. But when it does, I think it does actually give you a pretty good finale. Nice and tense, and the pace just ratchets up so quickly once the survivor escapes from custody. Everything has to come together to a head pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty completed story. Like, learned plenty of things, but that again, I would say it's what I like about TV shows that I very much enjoy. It's a good kind of filler. It's a solid episode that I would expect to fill up the total episode count. Because in a way, you don't want intense, hyper important events happening every single episode.
I mean, I think you always need to give your audience time to pause and catch their breath, and sometimes a more chill filler episode, or just an episode that is monster of the week or adventure of the week, is exactly the right thing. But this does a lot. Like it definitely fills in some of the backstory about what the Reavers are, how they function, why they're so terrifying. Gives us a bit more of the Alliance as well, how they operate, and shows us they're not entirely monsters themselves. Like they will be reasonable with people who help them or benefit them. And some nice little character moments, I think, particularly with Mal and how he thinks and what he's willing to give up, I suppose, to help save the Doctor and River. So yeah, some good stuff there.
Well, I suppose that wraps us up on episode 3.
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this little foray back into the world of Firefly. We will obviously be doing the next one shortly, but yeah, that is our thoughts so far on episode 3. So for this week at least, that's all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.